This story began in the year 2020. This year started out creepy. First with a threat of war, then a pandemic that spread worldwide within a matter of months. Videos began to surface of dead bodies littering the streets of the unfortunate that fell victim to this deadly virus. Hospitals became overwhelmed, and a spirit of fear gripped the world like never before. Countries closed their borders, and the entire world went on a lockdown. People unable to leave their homes, and when allowed to, they would be covered with masks and gloves, trying not to become one of the infected. People even began to police each other by calling authorities if anyone met in groups of more than 5. Since very few people were working, people struggled to just make ends meet. Then the locusts. The locusts began to eat the crops. They ate record amounts of crops. That, combined with fewer people working at food production plants, this made for a worldwide food shortage. Then people became desperate and angry. People were willing to do whatever it was necessary to end this lockdown so everything could just go back to normal. Then the governments announced there would be a new vaccine, and in order to return to work, school, or to travel, one must have taken this vaccine. So people lined up by the thousands to take this vaccine. When people refused, they were first alienated by their neighbors, then forcibly locked up to protect the rest of society. When under this kind of pressure, most people agreed to take the vaccine. At first, everything seemed okay. People were even going back to work. Movie theaters, malls opened up, and it seemed like everything was as it used to be. Then there was a news report of a pregnant lady and her unborn baby being shot and killed by police. This angered a lot of people because the story went viral on social media. And what really angered people was the fact that it seemed like the police were covering the incident up. When questions about the footage of the body cam came, the police said that the footage had been lost. This made the story even look more suspicious. Now there were outrage and protests in the streets because of this slain pregnant woman and her unborn baby. So much pressure was put on the police department and politicians that they were forced to release the footage. But when released, people were not prepared for what they saw. The video showed a pregnant woman already bleeding through her dress as if she were on her cycle, blindly staring at the officers and unresponsive to any of their commands. One of the officers approached her and tried to putting handcuffs on her, but she became enraged turned and bit him in the face and clawed at his eyes like a wild animal. When the other cops tried to intervene, she savagely attacked them. And it was like she had supernatural strength because she overpowered 6 officers, blinding 1 and seriously injuring 3 others. Out of fear, the remaining officers drew their weapons and shot her over and over again. Even while being shot, she charged and screamed in anger, trying to get to the officers until she dropped dead and it was over. People were shocked at what they saw. But what made things even more mysterious is that all of the officers involved in the incident were now missing. When people began to investigate, it was found that shortly after the incident, one of the cops killed his entire family and had to be killed by officers himself. And this was less than a week later. Another one of the officers commits suicide by jumping off a bridge. His body washed up a few days later. The others was taken away and never saw again. Then after that, incidents similar to that started happening all over the place. You heard about husbands with no history of violence killing their entire family. Women killing their children and mutilating their bodies. What people didn't know, and what the governments were trying to cover up, was that the vaccines people were given were starting to show side effects. It was making people go insane. They would lose all ability to communicate and go into an uncontrollable rage. And this one condition was contagious. If bitten, scratched, or spit on, or even in a closed, confined space with them for a long period of time, could cause a person to become infected with this new virus. There was no known cure, and it was 100% fatal. People suffering from this virus no longer wanted to eat, so many of them were skin and bones. But the condition pumped their body full of adrenaline, so they were strong and full of energy. It was like all they wanted to do was kill any and everyone they came in contact with until they dropped dead from starvation. The virus spread quickly, just like the flu. And in a matter of months, the whole world was shut down all over again. But this time, things were 1,000 times worse. There was major food shortages and people were terrified of leaving their homes. People began hoarding food, water, and weapons, and the streets became lawless. There was an incident of a family that tried to help a neighbor they had known for over a decade. He had no food and no place to stay, so they allowed him to move in. Little did they know, he had eyes for their 10-year-old daughter. So one night, he killed the whole family and took their daughter. In times like this, the savagery in ordinary people came out. With the whole world in turmoil, it was everyone for themselves. So no one feared any consequences or repercussions for carrying out their inner savagery. Police and military alike were afraid of catching this virus, so places with outbreaks were just closed off, and those left behind had to fend for themselves. This was a new world we were living in, a world of fear, lawlessness, and violence. These were the times of the corona zombies.